Hi, coloring friends. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to episode 6 of Coloring Outside the Book. Now, that's the series on my channel where I show different ideas for how to get your coloring out of your books and to be enjoyed in everyday life. So, I have this video a little early this month because I wanted it to be put out on Dr. Seuss's birthday. Now, that is also Reading Across America Day, and it coincides with March, which is National Reading Month. Um, so my idea for this episode is I'm going to be coloring bookmarks using a picture from the Dr. Seuss Coloring Book. And throughout the video, I wanted to share different quotes and ideas that Dr. Seuss had. And I'm going to kick it off with the first one. Today you are you. That is truer than true. There is no one alive who is youer than you. And that's a good one to remember, that we're all special and unique, and that is definitely to be celebrated. So this is the picture that I chose to color out of the book. I have sized it down and printed it on my own paper. I sized it to a size that would work well for a bookmark. The page in the book was just going to be too tall to use anyway for a bookmark. And I will end up probably cropping it into 3 separate bookmarks. So I am going to start by coloring the background of the image. I have a CaliArt light blue alcohol marker that I'm going to use for the sky. And then I have an Ohuhu yellowish green color that I'm going to use for the ground. And I chose for the background more lighter muted tones because I plan on coloring the characters in darker tones, and I'm hoping that will allow them to pop a little bit. So I'm going to move you in closer and I'm going to get going on the background. I will be speeding up this portion just so the video isn't too long. So let's move in closer and we'll get going with our picture. right, we are back and I have the full page all colored in with the background. And I am going to be using my Brute Fooner Square pencils now to color the characters on the page. I kind of looked at some books I had of Dr. Seuss, and it turns out a lot of his books just have the characters kind of sketched like this with no color to them. There are a few that have color, but it's a lot of pale color. Um, and then there's like one fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish did have more primary colors with the red and yellow, and then the blue that they use is like a baby blue. So I have some colors kind of picked out, and I'm also going to try to mix it up so that since I'm cutting this apart so that each actual bookmark has a little bit of each color. I don't want to do, a whole bunch of yellow characters here and then a whole bunch of red over here because then this bookmark wouldn't have any color in it. So I am going to start with a pale yellow on this guy here because that was one where I did find that this one has that color. So we'll get going with him first and then we'll work our way around mixing in the colors as we go. Yes, this is a very pale yellow, although actually not far from what it is in the book. So we'll see. I may end up darkening the edges a bit with a darker yellow just to give a little bit of definition to it. Although in the books they are completely solid. There's not really any shading or anything like that to them. So, but this is my coloring page, so I'm going to do it how I would like it to look. And on that note, I think I'll go ahead and throw out another Dr. Seuss quote. So I kind of went through and chose, I found a website full of his quotes, and I kind of went through and chose the ones that have always been my favorites. So I think I have about 7 that I wrote down to share. So the next one is, the more that you read, the more things you will know. The more that you learn, the more places you'll go. And I love that, he, with his work, gave that opportunity to kids everywhere and, put that in their minds that it's important to learn and use your brain and all that. So I was reading about Dr. Seuss, and he is actually not a doctor. He did go to some pretty big name schools, colleges, and graduated. He went to Oxford, I think, and Dartmouth. So, he clearly had the brains. But he went with Dr. Seuss because I believe his actual name is Theodore Seuss Geisel. And he always said that he was saving his actual real full name for when he wrote the Great American Novel, which I guess he didn't ever get to, but he certainly left behind a good number of children's books. And I read that only 4 of his books out of, I think it was 44, only 4 of them are in just regular writing, meaning not in rhyme. So the other 40 books are all in rhyme. And he did that. He wrote his books in rhyme because he was setting out to give books to kids that would help them read and encourage them to read, learn to read. So when you have repetition and lots of frequent frequently used words, and word families, like, you know, the op family. So you have mop and hop and pop. You know, that repetition of the words is what helps kids to learn how to identify them and read them. And his publisher had come to him and asked him to write a book that a first grader wouldn't be able to put down. And he sat down and wrote The Cat in the Hat. So, just a few little fun facts on Dr. Seuss. There we go. Try to give this a little more shading. I don't know what to do with his mouth, because really the pictures, the colors that they use are quite monotone. So we'll see. I'll see what I figure out with that. Okay. All right, we'll leave him go. I think I'm going to darken up his little wispy things here. There we go. Alrighty. Let's see, who else do I want to make yellow, or do I want to move to a different color? I think I might move to a different color. And I know, I think I wanted to try and do this guy's suit in, do I want to do red or light blue? It's, you know, you'd think it was easier to have a more limited palette, but it kind of makes it a little bit harder because you don't want to, you know, crowd your colors. Okay, let's do this. I think maybe what I'll do is this guy's sock next. That one is a very, very sharp one. Like my last pencil. So when I was teaching preschool, we always had a Dr. Seuss day on his birthday, and the kids could dress up as their favorite Dr. Seuss character or their favorite book character, any book character. And we would read Bartholomew and the Oobleck, and then the kids would get to help make Oobleck and sit and play with it. That was always a lot of fun. We do Pin the Tail on the Cat, and a couple other games. I'm trying to think of what we had them make for snack. I think for snack they'd make their own one fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish, and we'd use goldfish. And then it was like a snack mix. I can't remember that for sure. But, and then we would usually read a second story, Dr. Seuss story to them. And, you know, it was just a really fun party day and celebrating reading and getting into good books. It's a lot of fun. The teacher and I had red t-shirts that we had made with iron-ons that said she was teacher 1 and I was teacher 2. So we'd wear those, and then we had blue fuzzy wigs that we'd put on so we'd look like the thing 1 and thing 2. And the kids would laugh, and it was a lot of fun. I miss those things about teaching for sure. The super fun days. So I'm going to throw out another quote, another favorite Dr. Seuss quote. My next one is, unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to get better. It's not. And that one is from the Lorax, which is my favorite Dr. Seuss book. I love the message in that, and I love the movie, and I love the book. And it has stuck with me. We have a big farm field that is right down the road from us, and well, there are a couple farms actually. There were, and beautiful rolling fields, and then at the back, very back, was a big tree line, and they started developing the farmland there, and which is not my favorite thing by any means. But I know one day I was watching out the window and they were clearing some of that foresty area, and just this massive flock of birds, like more birds than I've ever seen before, ever, came shooting out of the woodsy area and flew away. And I just pictured those birds, the sad birds and fish in the book, the Lorax, and how sad it is. I mean, I know it is what it is. People have to make money, and if they can't afford to keep the farm going because of, you know, the economy and all that now, then, you know, if the best option is to sell the land to feed their families, and then on top of that, when you develop the land, the developers are, you know, having a job, and all the construction places, all the materials that go into the construction. I mean, I know it provides jobs for people, but it's still sad. And I don't like my beautiful view of the rolling hills and farmland to be filled up with townhouses. But, you know, just the way it is. But definitely when I saw all those birds flying away, I thought about the Lorax, and was about ready to go running out and standing in the middle of the forest saying, "I speak for the trees." I don't think that would have been received well. Well, I have to say, I'm not a huge fan of the way the Brute Fooners are laying down on this. I just have, this is printed on just regular old cardstock that you can buy in packs at Walmart. It's nothing fancy, which is probably my problem, but I'm not a huge fan of the way they're blending on this paper. It's kind of almost waxy, which I don't usually have that issue with Brute Fooners, but I'll just have to, I need to back off with my pressure a little bit, and hopefully that'll help resolve it some. And I see a spot right there that I'm going to need to hit with the background color. I missed that. Those little furry hands. Go. So next favorite Dr. Seuss quote on the docket is, "A person's a person no matter how small." Isn't that the truth? That is from Horton Hears a Who, another one that I love, especially the movie. I really like that movie. Good singing in that movie. Get this fuzz a little darker layer there. I have no idea what this thing is that I'm coloring, but I decided he should be orange. Yeah, that background, it did take a bit of time, especially with alcohol marker working around all the little feet and fur and everything else that's going on in the picture. I'm gonna I think this part's gonna get cropped, but I'm just gonna carry that up anyway. Yeah, so I think the actual live time coloring of the background took probably very close to an hour, 50 some minutes, I think. Sorry if you can hear my dog. She's napping behind me and apparently being very vocal about it. Yeah, so the background actually took me, I know I'm not the fastest colorer, so, but it took me almost an hour to do, and it's crazy to see when you speed it up that all of a sudden it's just 6 minutes or less. Okay. All right, there's another guy done. So we've got an orangey guy and a yellow. I have to figure out what I want this little thing to be. I have no idea. I don't remember ever seeing this one in a Dr. Seuss book at all. I think this guy's gonna have light blue pajamas, so I have light blue covered. I may do him the darker brown. I don't know, I'm half tempted to just leave him sketched looking, just because that's how a lot of the ones in the pictures are. I think for now I'm going to leave him. We'll leave him as is. And now I'm stuck again on what color I want to do. Well, let me hop over here because I know I want this one to be, this looks like the bird from Oh Say Can You Say, the tongue twister book. So I am going to color him green like that bird. Didn't pay attention to how his feet are. I know he has like an orangey, yellowy beak, but I can't remember what his feet look like. There we go. right, let me throw out another Seussical quote. So my next one is, step with care and great tact, and remember that life's a great balancing act. And I believe that is from Oh, the Places You'll Go, which I know I mentioned when I was hauling that book, the Dr. Seuss Coloring Book, that is a book that a lot of parents use to have teachers sign as their kids go through school and then present to their child on their graduation day. And then they have sort of a record of all the teachers that taught them and what they thought of them and how their years went. So that was something fun that I got to be a part of as a preschool teacher, was signing books for those kids. It's kind of cool to always be a part of their story. Try and darken him up a bit more. I need to check the time. I don't want this video to be too long. It's always hard when you're coloring a whole page, especially if you're a slower colorer like me, to get it within a reasonable time frame. So I'm going to check and see if we need to consider just doing a speed color for the rest of it, or maybe even finish some of it off camera. We'll have to check. There we go. Get his little tail feathers. I'm going with that his feet were the same color as his beak. I'm not sure if that's accurate, but that's what I'm going to go with. So, get his face here. A little fluff on top there. There we go. All right. Then I need to find my I think this is what I want to use, this orangey yellowish orange. There we go. Get his little legs. And there we go. So for the elementary age, at least in our school district, they do something kind of cool for reading month. And it's called One District, One Book. And they choose a book, and this is at the elementary level. They choose a book that everyone in the district will read. So we have a couple of different elementary schools, but all the elementary schools will be reading the same book, And it goes beyond that, actually. They have all the teachers read the book, and all the administrative staff gets a book, and the the custodians and the bus drivers and the specialist teachers and everybody gets a copy of the book and a schedule for what to read when, and they all read the book through the month. Trying to figure out what I had planned for the blue. Who's supposed to be blue? Who is it? Let me go ahead and do her pajamas light blue. We're gonna do that. Let's commit to a color. So anyway, everybody gets the book and a schedule of when to be reading which chapters. And then they will have on the announcements in the morning, they do like a trivia game based on the previous night's chapters that were assigned to be read. They do special ideas for at-home activities. They're not required, but if you'd like to, do some more activities involving the book, you can. So one year for my older two, the book was Lemonade Wars, and one of the activities that you could do was make up your own recipe for lemonade, and then write out a recipe card for it. And my son, who is not a writer, does not enjoy writing. He's good at it, but he doesn't enjoy it. That hooked him, and he was super excited to make that lemonade, and we made it together, and he wrote up a recipe for it. And I think that year my daughter decided to do lemon cupcakes as her lemon recipe, and she got a little more creative with it, and printed out a picture with the recipe card and all kinds of stuff. But and then you can take those completed things in, and they enter you into a drawing for gift cards too. So another kind of fun incentive. So yesterday the book came home, and I still have one in elementary school, and so we read the first 2 chapters last night of the book, and it looks like it's going to be a cute one. I'm trying to remember. It's Hildy something, and she's like a detective, kid detective, and writes news articles she started her own local paper, basically. So far it's really cute. And I think it's going to be a good one. But I do very much appreciate the time and effort. And I mean, I know in years past, my older two have come home, telling me about how the bus driver was talking to them about what was going on in the book, which I think is so cool. Like, I mean, bus drivers are already amazing for what they do and what they go through. And I know mine always show a lot of care for the kids too. But to, go the extra step and be reading the book and trying to bring that onto the bus ride, I think is amazing. I always thought that was so, so cool. But yeah, I think it's a nice idea to get the community reading together. And I think it's wonderful that they provide a copy of the book to everybody too, so nobody is left out. All right, there we go. She became yellow. And I know in the same respect, the local library usually does something during March as well. I think they call it One Community, One Book. And the book is voted on, a month or two beforehand. And then they have, a schedule again of when you should be reading the book if you're interested, and they have extra copies on hand so people can, have access to participating. And then there's discussion questions and I believe online forums. The one year I decided I wanted to participate, and it was a book called Poison Study that was written by somebody from my state. And we actually, she came to the library, my library by me, and gave a talk about the book after we had completed reading it, which was so fun. It was really, really interesting to hear about how she researched the book and, all of it. I think I'm going to do this one down here, a light blue also. This fuzzy stuff a little darker. He's going to have red socks on. There we go. Alright, I think I'm going to finish this sock and then probably do a little either speed up, or if I've just rambled on for way too long, maybe just a complete off-camera completion. And then I will come back to show getting the bookmarks together. I think I have 2 quotes left. Let me see where I am here. I might throw one more out there before I break here. Let's see. So, yeah, I have 2 left. So let me go ahead and share this one. It is think left and think right and think low and think high. Oh, the thinks you can think up if you only try. Another great one for encouraging people to use those brains. It can be easy to fall into not doing that, especially with the world we live in now and all the technology and, but I think you get something from being creative, and I mean, we all benefit from that. When somebody comes up with something new, a new idea that, thinking outside of the box, we all benefit from it. All right, so I am going to go ahead and take a break. Here's where I am so far. Again, very slow colorist. So I think I will check the time and see if I'm going to do a speed color for the rest, or I may need to just finish it off camera and then join back for the bookmark assembly. So I will be back either way with the completion of this project. All right, so I have finished the page and I am going to go ahead and take a clear ruler. This is just a Fiskars ruler that came with my cutting mat. And I'm going to draw the lines where I want to cut, and then I'll use my paper cutter to actually cut the bookmarks. Now, I know that they are probably not going to end up exactly the same size. I'm not too concerned about that because I'm more concerned about making sure that an equal amount of characters basically are on the page and how they are split up. All right, I think that's pretty good. So I'm going to do a line with pencil here. That'll be the first cut. And then I'm going to try to get 3 out of this. So I'm going to mark again. Let's see. I think it's probably going to have to be here. And I was aware when I started this, well, I'll get that little guy all on one. I was aware when I started this that, you know, just the nature of how I'm cropping this apart, that I will have, you know, some bodies on one side and heads on the other, and that's okay with me. I think it'll be just fine. So long as there's a few whole creatures in each bookmark, I think we're good. So the next step is going to be to take my paper cutter. I have the Fiskars paper cutter here, and I will just cut along the outer edges and then cut each bookmark apart, and then I will take these and laminate them. I have a laminator that I have off of Amazon. I will link everything that I'm using in the description if you're interested. But yes, so I have my own laminator that I'll use. If you don't have a laminator, an easy trick to do is you can actually take packing tape and you would just lay it on one side of the bookmark, flip it over, and then lay another sheet of packing tape on the other, smooth it flat, and voila, lamination. So there are ways around it if you don't have a laminator and you're making something small like a bookmark. That totally works. So I'm going to go ahead and get this cut out and laminated, and then I will be back for the final finished product. All right, we are in the home stretch, folks. If you have made it this far, give yourself a nice pat on the back because I know it has been a long one. So I punched a hole in the top of each of my bookmarks after I cut them out of the lamination sheet. And then I just raided my craft stash for ribbon, and I happen to have a few that work. I just barely scraped by with this one because I am a little bit of a hoarder and I kept very small pieces of ribbon for just such an occasion. So thank you, past me, for doing that because I will use them today. So to tie your ribbon, you're just going to take your pieces of ribbon. I'm doubling up on this one so I can get 2 colors in one bookmark. You're just going to fold it in half, and then you're going to take your loose ends and you just want to feed those through your punched hole. And then you're going to grab that loop at the bottom and you want to pull and then take them and tuck them through the loop. and then you're just going to pull it tight. And ta-da, you have a bookmark. And I'm just going to do the same thing with this one. I decided to go with a blue polka dot since I was out of the other colors. I used it all up on those two. So same thing again, fold it in half, weave your loose ends through the hole, and you're just going to take your loop, tuck them through it, and then we're going to pull it tight. And you can kind of play around with how it ends up sitting so it's to your liking. And there you go. And if you wanted these to be a little shorter, you can always trim them down if you'd rather have a shorter ribbon. With the ribbon, I would recommend kind of fusing the ends so they don't end up raveling. So you can either hit it with a little bit of just a match very quickly, very carefully, very, very carefully, and by water if possible. You could hit it with a little bit of hot glue, or you can even coat it with a clear nail polish, and that will hold it in place too. So a couple of different options. Nail polish is probably the safest and least likely to burn you, so I would recommend trying that first. And there you go. So I wanted to round out the video with my last Dr. Seuss quote of the night. And the last one is, "You're never too old, too wacky, too wild to pick up a book and read to a child." And I'll just say right here that I want to thank my mom for always doing that for me. She is definitely the reason why I love books so much, and I hope that I am doing a good job passing that down to my kids and other kids out in the world as well. So there's your reminder to pick up a good book for yourself, and if there are kids in your life that you can sit down and read to, or even to go volunteer at the library or something, you know, it does make a difference. So thank you so much for joining me, for sticking around if you made it to the end. I know it was a long video. I hope you enjoyed seeing the bookmark idea come together, and maybe try making some of your own with your own coloring pages. It was definitely a lot of fun to do, and I will probably be sending these off to school with my daughter to use. So thanks again for joining me, and I will see you in the next one. Bye! Okay, editing Kelly breaking in with a quick side note here because I had to share. Look how cool the backs of these came out because of the alcohol marker and not going into the white areas. It's so cool. It's like shadows of all the characters. I just had to share that.